Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sean from sgtreport.com, and I just want to tell you guys that I have two very special people on the line right now, and we don't really have an agenda for this phone call. One of those folks is Ella Draper, who has changed her name to Ella Draper, the mother of the two Hampstead children. Her website is Free the Hampstead 2. And also on the line is my good friend Sofia Smallstorm. Sofia, first, welcome to you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Sean.
Hey, thanks for coming on. And Ella, you know how much I love you, and welcome back. How are you?
Thank you so much. I love you too, and thank you for inviting me once again.
Yeah, and guys, you'll recall that Ella's children, Gabriel and Elisa, have vanished. The state, in all of its autonomy and genius, decided to return those children who were allegedly abused by their father, Ricky, back to the hands of the abuser, and now Ella doesn't know where her sweet children are. And, you know, I'll tell you, nobody has been put through the ringer as it pertains to this kind of stuff like Ella. Ella, you know we can't get justice. Certainly you can't get justice in the UK as it relates to these types of pedophile and child trafficking rings.
You know, during this, during the course of this story, we encountered many incidents with counterintelligence, with shields, with the discernful agents, and with a lot of all kind of psyops. You know, they all kind of experts coming out with all kind of rubbish that, well, they talk a lot of truth, but then they try to divert the attention of the public somewhere else. And but also seeing how they operate and how they, for example, legalized homosexuality. Like, for example, I don't know, half a century ago or maybe even more, it would be something unacceptable in many countries, right? To talk about it or to accept this particular behavior, but now we know, for example, in Germany, that the homosexual marriages are legalized, as well as in France, in spite of the protest from the people. So, and seeing how they do that, how they introduce it in the how they introduce this phenomenon, the conception of homosexuality, and then pedophilia, and then cannibalism most likely next, because they already started to put articles in the mainstream media about how a certain celebrity tasting human flesh, and this guy from American television, I'm just so bad with names, who went to this Indian tribe, India, in the southeastern Asia, India, who tasted human brain.
Yep.
So they're putting it out, and it could be, it may well be a theater, this whole Pizzagate, to take it out, to shock the public to begin with, and then, you know, everybody talk, and then slowly it's going to come down, and then they're gonna come up with how children are enjoying it, and how children are asking for it, and then you know, we've got to give children rights to make their decisions from early age. Then we're gonna lower the age of consent, and you know, and that's it.
Yeah, and it seems to be a coordinated effort globally. You know, not just in the EU. We know Tom DeLay has warned the American people that some element within the Department of Justice of the United States wants to legalize 12 perversions, including bestiality and sex with children. I wonder if one of those other perversions is cannibalism. And I ask that because you're right, they are now flashing this stuff in the faces of all of us, trying to normalize these devious, essentially satanic behaviors. And let me ask you, ladies, have you heard of this new Netflix show called the Santa Clarita Diet, which stars Drew Barrymore? Because if you've not heard of it, let me play you just the trailer here. I think you might find it a little bit nauseating.
I do like the way that I feel.
She's cutting herself.
Energy, and I sleep 2 hours a night. I get so much done.
You eat people.
I know. It's just that I'm so much more confident. I can parallel park in one move now.
So yeah, that's the new comedy from Netflix starring Drew Barrymore, the Santa Clarita Diet, which features Drew Barrymore as a cannibal. So it's just, it's everywhere now at this point, and they want to normalize this sort of satanic, evil behavior.
Well, Sean, they are also perfecting ways to create marketable products from sewage. They are recovering caffeine from sewage and birth control pill ingredients and anything and everything, and they are putting it back on the supermarket shelves.
You know, it's funny that you would say that. I have now for the past week had a natural news article open in my browser here because I was going to do a video about it, and I was going to title the video, "The Elite Hate You So Much That They Want You to Eat and Drink SHIT." Here it is. Here's the article. Biosludge Brew, California brewery now making beer out of recycled human sewage water. For real. And it just is, it's beyond the pale, because the last time I checked, Sophia, you folks out there in California have a really large body of water right next to you. It's called the Pacific Ocean. There's no water problem. As Joe Rogan has said, there's a salt problem, but there's no water problem. Okay? They don't need to be making beer out of recycled human wastewater.
Right. Desalination plants are supposedly very expensive, but they can't be more expensive than this other industry that they've been working on for many, many years. It's a Fortune 50 industry, the reclamation of sewage and the reconversion of materials they can cull from it and rebottle and put back on shelves for us to buy. And I'm going to tell you something. This is all generational. So we sit here and we are aghast at the thought. But through their media outlets and their entertainment forms and whatever else, they will, teaching at school, this is another, the education medium, they will get the following future generations to be very interested in this and then to be rewarding each other, to be wanting to be the first to eat a steak that's made of feces. Can I throw you another curveball, please?
Yeah, I love your curveballs.
I like doing this.
Please do.
All right, so...
And Ella, jump in anytime.
Today...
I'm fascinated by this whole subject.
Today, Sean, I got a link that is from The Guardian. We know very well what The Guardian is, the reporting outfit in the UK. And it says here, Trump presidency opens door to planet-hacking geoengineer experiment. So they just had Harvard get behind the idea to boost solar geoengineering so that it went worldwide and saves us from this terrible thing called the sun deflecting sunlight.
We may actually not be able to switch our energy system over in time to avoid the worst consequences of climate change. And this is really why solar geoengineering, I think, is an important thing to look at very carefully.
Solar geoengineering refers to a set of technologies that could allow humanity to deliberately increase the planet's reflectivity, reflecting away some sunlight, and so partially offsetting the temperature changes and other climate changes that come from the accumulation of carbon dioxide.
Which is going to push what I term the state of biological darkness. But now they're saying, under the Trump administration, enthusiasm appears to be growing for the controversial technology of solar geoengineering, which aims to spray sulfate particles into the atmosphere to reflect the sun's radiation back to space and decrease the temperature of the Earth. And it says the Obama administration wasn't very enthusiastic about this. While geoengineering received little favor under Obama, high-level officials within the Trump administration have been longtime advocates for planetary-scale manipulation of Earth systems. So now they're going to blame chemtrails on Trump.
Mm-hmm. You know, I saw that article and I saw that piece. I actually listened to the clip with a Harvard professor, or whoever that was, essentially singing the praises of geoengineering. And it's really funny to me because you and I both know, Sophia, that half the time they're claiming that there is no such thing as quote-unquote chemtrails. Okay, that anybody that talks about geoengineering is delusional.
This is not a substitute for cutting emissions. If we want a stable climate, in the end, we must bring emissions to zero. But it is a powerful supplement. It could reduce the risks of climate change in ways that we cannot reduce them by simply cutting emissions. It could allow us to reduce temperature extremes that cause real human suffering, deaths from heat waves, losses of crops that will cause real damage in the poorest parts of the world, big storms that are some of the most dangerous things about climate change. So the benefits of solar geoengineering in the form of reduced climate risk, reduced crop loss, reduced sea level rise, might amount to something like 1% of global GDP. And surprisingly, solar geoengineering can be very inexpensive.
Despite the fact that we know that there have been white papers written about geoengineering and controlling the weather, owning the weather by, what was it, 2020, I think, that Air Force document?
2025.
2025. So yeah, I mean, we know that geoengineering is real. They tell us that we're delusional, and now the Harvard people come out and say, oh yeah, it's absolutely real, and it's great for humanity. So they're just going to cook us alive, I think.
Talking about cooking, Sofia, why didn't you tell Sean about this? What they trying to do with female eggs?
I think we have covered it in a discussion, but maybe we haven't. So I was explaining to Ella yesterday the dangers of wireless radiation.
Right.
You know, in the future, with the robotics coming in and the assistance we're going to get from robot maids and whatever else in our house, your robot will walk around and vacuum for you because all the sensors that it has, and everything will be smart and automated. So this age of robotics calls for wireless hookups, because robots cannot fall all over their wires. That is the most basic way I can put it. But we are being bathed. Now we have 5G coming, which keeps pushing into the higher and higher gigahertz, pushing toward far infrared even. But the technologies are oscillating so fast, these radio frequency waves. They are so far beyond what the body can tolerate. The body only tolerates between 0 and 40 cycles per second. And when you get into the billion, gigahertz is billion cycles. So Wi-Fi is 2.4 billion cycles per second. And they've got this coming, you know, this is the educational delivery to the schools. The children are going to sit with iPads clutched to their stomachs, bellies. Their reproductive organs are very close by. And these high oscillating waves are hardening the eggs in the little girls because of something called the zona response in human beings. The hardening of the egg upon penetration by a sperm precludes more sperm from getting in. And so it's the first sperm that wins the race, and after that the human egg hardens. And so with these high oscillation radio waves, any frequency registers on biological tissue as a mechanical force. So the mechanical force of the high oscillating radio waves is actually having the same effect as sperm penetration, and is received by the follicles in the girl's ovaries, the eggs, as though they are being penetrated, which will harden them forever. And the only way to ever fertilize one of those eggs then would be in a laboratory with a needle.
Well, I have an article here, and I've shared this before with folks, but I definitely suggest people check it out. It's from naturalhealth365.com. Action alert: 5G cellular technology will blanket planetary life with ultra-high microwave frequencies. The FCC is just ramming this through, and it's really terrifying. I mean, when I say they're going to cook us alive, guys, I've talked to Ron Johnson about this and others. It's actually what they're going to do with these unproven technologies, at least unproven in regards to safety for human beings. 5G is just, it's horrifying. Ella, are those your chickens in the background?
Yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
nothing you can do, I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome. That's great. Well, you know, guys, and Sophia, feel free to jump in and follow up on any of that, but Ella was going to be kind enough to share some of her thoughts on some of the potential ways those of us who have vaccine-damaged children might be able to facilitate some repair to their brains. And I'm all ears if Ella, you want to address any of that.
Absolutely, and I think it's quite relevant as well to what we've been talking about, because we're talking about the damage, the brain damage, and DNA damage caused by the vaccination. But not only that, you know, as we see, we are bombarded with all kind of absolutely unnatural radio frequencies, and it's all directed to damage and to make us docile, to make us inactive, passive, and so on. And of course, we know that the other symptoms are quite terrible as well, when the central nervous system get damaged, and other systems of the body. So, and it happened that when our situation with children happened in August 2014, my children were already on really healthy diet. We were vegans, we were raw, we were juicing, and when we met with Abraham, it turned out that he's done quite extensive research into hemp seeds, and now actually the Israeli scientists, they're the one who deeply researching the subject of cannabis and cannabinoids, and and especially endocannabinoid system. Endogenous cannabinoid system is inbuilt inherent system in our body, which is in charge of all other systems in the body, nervous, immune system, endocrine, and so on. And the endocannabinoid system in majority of people remains dormant due to the fact that we don't feed the system with correct raw materials, so the body can repair itself, can repair its own DNA, and of course the unnatural foods, unnatural lifestyle from generation to generation affect certain parts of DNA from generation to generation, and then we coming out with inherent oh my gosh, inherent,
Yeah, inherent.
The diseases, inherent
inherited.
diseases, yeah. Inherited, sorry, my English sometimes, so we're dealing, and of course, vaccinations, it's a completely terrible thing. We know that they've been putting cells from monkeys, and now they're putting human cells, and so they manipulate our DNA code as well. So now, so endocannabinoid system was first discovered about 70 years ago, but really was they started to study it in depth about for the last 25 years, and they compare. In fact, people who are researching this subject, they say that the discovery of endocannabinoid system is more important than the surgical operations. The kind of the practice and the mastering of surgical operations, because body has this ability to heal itself, to self-regulate, and to keep homeostasis, the balance of all the system naturally. And as I said, the unnatural foods, or foods masquerade, so-called foods, which are actually drugs masquerading as foods on the shelves of the supermarkets, are damaging our body in every way possible. Trans fats, caramelized sugars, they all just quickly damaging our system. And in fact, the whole the fact that human body is capable to survive for 70 years on average, in spite of all this the damage that the body incurs, is actually testimony to how genius this creation of human body is.
I agree. I've thought that same thing. By the way, those are my dogs in the background barking. He probably has to go outside. So sorry about that. I've said the same thing. We're under such assault, right, of chemically. And I refer to vaccines at this point. I tell my wife that they're chemical weapons delivery systems. And, in addition to that, we have the GMO foods, and we have the radiation and the microwave and the cell phones. And we're under this nonstop attack. And I think it's impossible to curb all of it. But for those of us who have vaccine-damaged kids, what do you think is the best way to start to see a positive result in these kids? You mentioned this CBD isolate. What is it? What is the CBD isolate you mentioned to me?
Well, CBD crystals, usually the best products about 98 to 99% purity. It's an isolated cannabinoid, CBD cannabinoid, which is healing part of the plant. It's not the psychoactive like THC. Well, in fact, THC in a natural form in a live plant and in non-hybridized plant as well, it's actually also very beneficial, because in fresh form it's we're talking about THC acid, which highly beneficial and hardly it's not toxic. But once the buds are collected and the plant is dried and then smoked, then the THC acid turns into THC neutral and becomes toxic and causes depression and anxiety and so on, whatever side effects there are. So the idea is to consume cannabis plant as a whole plant. But of course, not just where our freedoms are taken and our right to voice the issues is taken away from us, but our perfect food is taken away from us as well, since prohibition in 1936. And of course, the advertised way to commune with this incredible magical plant through smoking is just and even then it's a natural way to commune with the plant, and even then people receive a little bit of benefits in the way their expansion of the consciousness. This is mainly why people smoke, right? But it's an unnatural way to commune with the plant. It's our perfect food, and we've got to eat it. And each part of the plant contains different qualities and affect our body in different way. For example, the very, very young plant is very rich in growth hormone, and it helps our cells to rejuvenate really quickly. And then, of course, the leaf contains chlorophyll, which is rebuilds and renews our blood. Since the chlorophyll molecule is almost identical to the protein part of hemoglobin. So heme is identical to chlorophyll, apart from the central molecule, which is in heme it's magnesium, and in blood is iron, and they're interchangeable. So by consuming blood of the plants, but especially cannabis, because it's just so symbiotic and so it just fits us perfectly on all levels. Because then we've got hemp seeds, which contain proteins which become raw material to replace or to replenish and to rebuild globular proteins, becomes raw material to rebuild globin, hemoglobin.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how we replenish and rebuild our blood,
Okay, well, let me ask you this, though. This is a dumb guy question, right? So for those who are listening who have a son or a daughter who might be a little on the Asperger's spectrum, hearing this conversation, not really understanding it like you do, and hearing about the cannabinoids. For instance, on this particular website I'm at, You could buy 1 gram of cannabinoid isolate for $100. How, and this is not medical advice, guys. This is just a conversation between people who are trying to help each other. So you have to do your own research. But what if a person were to buy 1 gram of the CBD isolate? What would the delivery system be for, you know, a child to consume it, and how much would you give them?
Right. So CBD is a healing cannabinoid, right? And the reason why it's so potent is because it activates, it gives a boost to endocannabinoid system. It just pulls it out of its dormant state. In regards the quantity of the consumption, well, they say is you've got to consume about 8 milligrams of 8 milligrams a day of those crystals. So it's literally like on the point of the sharp knife, for example. Well, yeah, and so this is a main goal of consuming CBD. However, it's not a it's not the cure, I would say, because it's only a temporary solution, because our body is capable. Well, the and what is it? The part of how endocannabinoid system works. Our body creates and manufactures its own cannabinoids, which are, in a simple language, are neurotransmitters. It's like we've got a computer and it's got diagnosis, so it can self-diagnose and then self-repair it. So this is this example, I think, would describe how cannabinoid system works. Now, really, the long-term solution will be to supply our body with the raw material so it can manufacture its own cannabinoids from this material. And the best material happens to be hemp seeds, which are the richest source of essential fatty acids. And of course, our nerve tissues and brain and neurons and all other cells to do with the central nervous system and the brain are fats, and our brain, in fact, is 65% fat. The other percentage is mostly water. So omega-3, which is hemp seed, is very rich with, and also all the essential fatty acids are in ideal ratio for our to cater for our needs. So what happens once we start to consume this precious oils? They go directly into our system, and our system just grab it and turn it into what it needs to turn it into, and mainly feeds the brain and resets the brain, rewires it, and in fact changes neural pathways. Yeah, this is how we used to think, how our body used to function, and it changes it all. And this is the real benefit comes from the consumption of fresh hemp seeds. And if you can get hold of fresh cannabis, it's amazing, because male plant, the one that they got rid of when they're growing for smoking, so it doesn't inseminate the women, the female plants. But in fact, this pollen contains the raw material to repair our DNA, because in just so many ways, us as humans and cannabis plants are so similar in the way we function. And then, of course, on the cellular level, the number one function of our cell is to consume sunlight. So it's the same thing in the kingdom of plants, right? And of course, the way so we're supposed to eat sunlight, and we've got the device for it, which is melanin, and to the ability to produce melanin in many people is also atrophied somehow, because again of the unnatural lifestyle and the toxicity in the body. I'm just trying to cover different aspects, so to give you a bit of a bigger picture, right?
Well, you brought us full circle, actually. You actually brought us full circle, because when you talk about the importance of sunlight, it obviously triggers in my head the need for vitamin D. I live in a northern climate, and so many people have low levels of vitamin D, and they don't even realize it, because the sun isn't out very much in these northern climates in the winter, and people's vitamin D levels plummet because your body makes vitamin D through the sunlight coming through your eyes. It's really a miracle that God created this. And Sofia brings us all full circle here, because, again, through the geoengineering programs and all of this other nefarious stuff they're doing, they want to curb the amount of sunlight getting through to people.
Sean, may I please jump in here, because this is my new hobby horse, this biological darkness. Biological darkness is a condition that way too many people live in today due to the fact that they are deprived of sunlight, they don't go outdoors, they live under artificial lighting, which is in offices. Now it's going to be in homes with the LEDs. And what happens when you are exposed to sunlight, as you should be, on a half-day basis, basically half the day you're going to be looking at the blue sky. It might have clouds, but still, you will be getting full sun. The full
spectrum,
proper light, full spectrum light must have a thermal component. These LEDs and fluorescents and other forms of artificial lighting do not have a heat or thermal component with them. And when light is missing its thermal component, it doesn't trigger the hundreds and hundreds of biological activities and transactions that have to take place in order for you to be optimally healthy. So when they filter the sun with the white haze produced by the chemtrails, they're actually changing the nature, the disinfecting, life-giving, antiseptic, preservative, warm, golden nature of sunlight to the silver white light frequencies of moonlight that promote the growth of molds and spores, many of which are artificially engineered and are included in these chemtrail formulas. So we are receiving a dose of molds, spores, fibers, artificial fibers, and biological components, including red blood cells, in these chemtrail formulas, metallic oxides as well, and the filtration of the sun, now with the deflection of sunlight through solar geoengineering, that is going to promote this state of ongoing and very detrimental biological darkness that so many of us are living in. So even though it might be light, the body says, oh, it's daytime, but the body doesn't realize it's in an office, not getting full spectrum light with a thermal component, and thus dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds of biological activities are shut off. Now I want to add this. If they know, and they do, that they're shutting off hundreds of your biological activities that keep you healthy because of their various programs, which are not just geoengineering, it's the vaccines, it's the GMOs, it's just about everything that they do, contains some intention to create biological collapse. Then what are they creating room for inside you? They're going to be adding to that empty space on the hard drive. Imagine a facility that has a computer control room, and imagine somebody walking in and just shutting switches down, 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 off, 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 darkness, darkness, darkness. Then, you know, this control room is what protects the entity, the facility. And now all the protections are turned off. Now what? That's what they're doing.
Well, it's a bit disheartening, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah, it sure is. And you know, it sounds it sounds like lunacy to anybody that doesn't follow or research this stuff, but it's just, I think the most troubling thing is, Ella and Sofia, is that as you uncover one terrible thing and then you do more research, you uncover another terrible thing and then you do more research. Sofia, I've told you before, on either side of my house there was a woman, on both, I mean literally, in the house on the left and the house on the right, both women got brain tumors. In the past 3 years, they're both now deceased. We are under absolute assault, and that's prior to this new 5G rollout. It just seems like instead of things getting better, because we're all waking up to the tyranny on planet Earth, the machine, the dark powers, right, the spiritual entities at war, waging war against humanity, continue to just double down. They're just doubling down on the evil, and I just don't know what to do about it anymore.
Well, you know, Sean, I don't have solutions exactly, but I can tell you this, that I sometimes entertain in my mind that maybe this place, this earth that we were born into, was always supposed to be somewhat or a lot upside down, and that we came here to flip right side up, which those of us who know this information are actually doing. It's called waking up, right?
Right.
But our real challenge is not just to wake up, but it is to continue to create for ourselves the experiences that are integral to our survival and our thriving. And those experiences are very, very simple. The exchange of love, consideration, improving another person's existence. We can still do that. That's what we're here to do. And yeah, we might have a shorter life expectancy eventually because of all this crap that they're kicking out. But, you know, there was a time on this earth when people only lived to 35 years old and their teeth were falling out.
Right. That's right. Well, it speaks to what Ella was saying about the robustness of our own immune systems, of what God created, right? I mean, our bodies and our immune systems, we're very robust to be under this kind of attack. And for so many of us to still be alive and kicking is kind of amazing, because you guys know as well as I do that they want to depopulate the planet, right? They keep saying there's too many of us, you know? And I just drove from a part of Wisconsin to a part of Iowa and back up to Minnesota, and then we did a lot of driving recently, and there's nothing out there. Nothing but empty spaces with the occasional large city or medium-sized city in between. You can drive hundreds of miles through wide open territory. But they continue to tell us, and I've driven, by the way, from the Minnesota area out to Colorado, from Minnesota down to Florida. There's lots and lots and lots of wide open spaces in this country, and they continue to brainwash everyone into thinking that a bunch of us need to die because the world is overpopulated. So this agenda and all these nefarious agendas that we continue to try to wake people up to, it's important. At the end of the day, I'm just not sure how humanity defeats this system, this beast system.
Well, you know, how do we say it? Isn't it called The Truman Show or something?
Yeah, that's the Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to refer to their entertainment as a reference for the reality of our lives, but this is an illusion, and this existence, and the only really good, long-term, memorable, important parts of it are our deeds and our acts and our intentions toward each other. And, you know, I did an interview recently, and we were talking about this. They imbue everything with their evil intention, and they make us participate in it. And Mark Devlin wrote a very long book on the music world, which ends with 2 extremely special chapters. And in one of them, he marvels at the ignorance and stupidity of a public, the masses, who stand there waving flags and cheering a person like the Queen of England, who's part of the depraved elite and is only seeking to destroy those who are cheering her on. And this is the insanity and the madness, is that most people have no clue how crippled the they are, and the plan is to continue to do that to them. And they'll stand there with their little flags, and they'll be so excited. They'll wait 6 deep on the side of the street to cheer on somebody who's exactly doing this to them. But our intention is very powerful. We can go to sleep at night or several times a day, do a reset and say, my intention is love, goodwill. I'm going to strengthen everybody I know. I have a power to put out there. My intention is just as strong and powerful as theirs. And yet we outnumber them as well. So why can't we do that? Why can't we sit there on a regular basis every day and put out good intentions, general and specific, and try to bathe the world in that, rather than just sitting around wringing our hands and being the recipients of all of their, machinations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and I think that's exactly what we did on this call. And Ella, I know you have so much more to tell me and more information to share. We just scratched the surface, so you and I will certainly talk a little bit more offline. And if you ever wanted to write an article that I could post at SGT Report that would help people out in regards to cannabinoids and some of these other things, hemp seeds, that would just be terrific. I'd be glad to post that, obviously. But I want to thank you both so much for your time, and we'll say goodbye to Sofia first. Sofia, you also carry healthful products at your store, your online store, Avatar Products. You want to tell folks about that?
Yes, I just have discovered since I turned 50 several years ago that there are a lot of things that are very basic and simple that can reset you in this biological way, and they're not expensive. Iodine, magnesium. My magnesium products are phenomenal sellers because they just take pain away, and they supply such an important mineral to your body, and they're so affordable, including something like magnesium deodorant. It's so easy to use, and you're putting it right there by your lymph glands in your armpits, and it works better than any deodorant on the market, and it's a very simple magnesium chloride. That's all it is. So I really urge people to visit avatarproducts.com if they like, and that's where I will continue to put things that I find that are just amazing solutions, and they make you feel better, and that's where it all starts, Sean. If you can actually feel okay or even good, then imagine what kind of intention you can put out, right?
Right. 100%. That's right. I've been feeling personally a heck of a lot of anxiety the past several months of my life, and I've never ever felt this level of anxiety. I've never even been a person who felt anxiety, to be honest with you, but I've certainly been feeling it lately, and I wonder if it's not because we all are under a stepped up level of assault by all of these devious programs, some of which we've talked about here. Ella, can you tell people about how they can support you? I know your website is freethehampstead2.com, but you had some trouble, I believe, with Patreon, so why don't you give us an update on how people can support you directly?
Right. I created two campaigns, one on generosity and another one on Patreon. Well, after our interview, during one day, there was about $3,000 accumulated on the account. Believe it or not, it was just gone crazy, and they just shut it down immediately, and saying, oh, maybe there is maybe an issue of an ID. But then they sending me an email recently saying that, oh, they decided that the campaign is too risky. I would like to know what they mean by that. Risky for who? And why they don't want my campaign to succeed. And the same thing happened with the Patreon as well. After about a week, they say, oh, it doesn't comply with our terms and conditions, so on. So anyway, as a tester, I just created one more on GoFundMe. I'm not quite sure how long it will last. However, I came, with the help of Sofia. Sofia was the one who brought this idea up, although I was already considering something like that. Like I have amazing information and knowledge and experience in my hands, and I really would like to share with the people. And even though I was doing it, but on really small scale, so what I'm thinking to do now, I'm thinking to create a series of workshops or webinars where dedicated to different aspects, like, for example, damage from vaccination, or people who would like to generally rejuvenate and reverse different problems, different health issues in their body, and the proceedings from the series of this educational and educational practical webinars would go towards children campaign. This is an idea, and so I'm working on that, and whoever is listening to that, if you're interested, just drop me a message via my contact page on either Free the Hampstead 2 or Hampstead Coverup if you're interested to participate and to support Alisa and Gabriel this way. And also I wanted to, while listening to Sofia, it's like I guess we have the same ideas floating in the in this consciousness, in this field of consciousness, and it just so much resonated what she says about our power. Let's not underestimate our power. We have an incredible force, incredible power as spiritual beings who we truly are, and we can realize and utilize this power with our choice. They can take everything from us. They can take our money, our children, which they do now, and is going like, it's like a wholesale now, the way they're taking children, and how they breed children for these purposes of abuse and horrific practices they subjected them to. The one thing that can't be taken from us, it's our choice, and let's make the choice of creating different reality, because we have power of creation, of manifestation, and that's what we concentrate our focus on. That's what we create. And also by talking about them or what they're doing, we're giving them away our power, we're giving them energy, we feed them with our energy. So I feel that that one of the ways, maybe not the perfect or the way, but we've got to use our power and to concentrate on what we want and what life we want to create as a human being, as an individual, and collectively as well. What kind of home, what kind of reality we want to create for us. So I think this is worthwhile of consideration, and of course feeding us ourselves with the essential nutrients, which our general diet is completely void of. So how can we expect to have the level of well-being, to realize our powerful, the amazing potential of our creativity and our consciousness? Of course, we've got to look after our house, that the house for our soul, for our spirit, for this incredible intelligence, high intelligence. And one thing affects the other, and I believe very much that the natural lifestyle, getting out of our boxes to the nature, and as Sofia explained, start to ground ourselves, start to receive the donatable electrons, and to reset our electromagnetic field is super important. And of course with the help of nutrition, and we've got to educate ourselves on these subjects and create the life we want for ourselves, for our children, and for future generations.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, I 100% agree. And just to round out the conversations, I've read it before, I'll read it again. I just think it makes sense. This particular Bible passage makes more sense to me. It always made sense to me as a child. It makes more sense to me now than it ever has because of the things we've talked about, right? Because of the coordinated attack against humanity, because they continue to roll out things like 5G when there's already problems with 4G and cancers being related to this type of technology, when they continue to talk about geoengineering as being a cure for what ails the planet, when they're purposefully destroying the planet, when we think about the insanity of building nuclear reactors right on the coast, which leads to catastrophic unfixable problems like Fukushima, when we talk about the insanity of GMOs in the vaccine chemical delivery systems, and the fluoride in the water, Ephesians 6:12 makes a lot of sense. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And when we talk about spiritual wickedness, there is no better example than what the elite have been doing to us and to what they're actively involved in doing to children as we speak, i.e. Pizzagate, pedogate, pedophilia, child trafficking. It's all an absolute nightmare, and we will continue to talk about it because this is the place where real people who care about humanity get together and talk about these real problems and about the spiritual wickedness in high places. Ella Draper, Ella Griva, thank you so much for your time. We love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And just one more thing I was going to mention. I started finally the conversation with the social services of Barnet Council who are having my children. They finally start to respond to my emails. And recently I had a conversation with the social worker who appointed to my children, who actually confirmed that the father does not see the children. But of course, we don't know that for sure. But what I'm saying is that I guess that the fact that the story is now really increasing the momentum and just so many people are finding out about, I think it's having an effect. You know, before they've been ignoring myself, my parents, my entire family, all our attempts to get in touch with children are completely ignored. They just didn't even respond to our emails. So I was also going to say maybe it would be a good idea to publish those emails from of Barnet Council of those key figures, and maybe for whoever feels like to do something about it, maybe to write to them and to express the opinion of the public about the whole story of Hampstead Coverup. I mean, just an idea just came to me now. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you want to write an article and you want me to post it at SGT Report, I would be happy to do that, because you, as the mother of Elisa and Gabriel, ought to know where your children are, which at this point in time, you have no idea where they are. You don't know if they're in the United States or somewhere in the UK or God knows where they are, correct?
That's right. Well, that's right. But no, but they're saying it's just recent information. I just spoken to them a couple of days ago. They're saying that the children are still in foster home, and of course they say, well, they're doing really well. They're so happy. I mean, how children could be happy being completely cut off from their family, from their mother?
Right. Well, it's great news if they have no contact with their father, in my opinion. That's, first and foremost, but we have no way of verifying that, because these same agencies of government have done really nothing but lie to you and cover this up and snatch your kids, right? The minute you brought this to the attention of the world, or at least to the attention of the government officials, you were blamed. They took your kids from you and ostensibly perhaps return them to the abuser. But I guess this new information suggests that Ricky has no contact with them. I mean, that would be a blessing, but
we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure because they've been lying everywhere, and they've been covering up, and they've been perverting the course of justice every way possible and breaching human rights in the court, within the dealings with the Metropolitan Police. They now denying, for example, now they're denying fact that if they even had the medical reports at the time of investigation, where they are actually
appointed this specific specialist with the 26 years of experience in sexual child abuse. They appointed this lady specifically, the police, and which now they're suggesting that they're confirming that they never received the medical reports, which they both been produced while the investigation still been opened. I mean, it's hard to believe. I have medical reports, and they've been delivered to my then lawyer in October. So now, and they're saying they didn't see the medical reports until January 2015. Oh, even then, if you receive those reports, it's the next action will be to reopen the investigation. But of course, they were not interested interested in the investigation, and then they blamed me for coaching the children. And okay, then you blame me, you put it in the newspapers. So why you never charged me? I thought we talked about it. And and of course they now attempting to cover up, but they're just too late. They're a couple of steps behind the whole time, and the longer they keep the children, the more trouble they're gonna get themselves in. And this is how it is, and we're seeing it, and that's why they're doing everything possible to to shut the campaign. But I think they're a bit too late.
Well, and for anyone who isn't 100% familiar with what Ella's talking about, you can watch my documentary interview with Ella called Hampstead Uncovered. At this point, it still only has like 40,000 views. It should have 4 million views simply because the information is so horrifying and so important. It's called Hampstead Uncovered. You can find it on YouTube. You can visit Ella at her website, freethehampstead2.com. And Ella, the final question for you, final word. How do people find your GoFundMe page? What is it called? Do they search your name?
Yeah, it's the same. The name of the campaign is the same. Free the Hampstead 2. Meaning Free Alisa and Gabriel. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you will search on GoFundMe, but I'll send you the link. But also created. I'm going to change the pages on both websites, on Free the Hampstead 2 and Hampstead Coverup. There is a tab called fundraising campaign. So the information will be there.
Excellent. Okay, and Sofia, thank you so much for jumping on in short notice. Everybody, please visit her great website, avatarproducts.com. And Sofia, I really need to commend you also on your newsletter. You do a fantastic job. How do people get your newsletter?
They can just go to my blog page, sofiasmallstorm.com, Sofia with an F, and to the left of that page is a little tab that says how to subscribe to the newsletter. You can read samples there. I have a new one to send you. I just figured out something that I'm very excited about. It's a dot connection. But Sean and Ella, I want to say this, and it's very important to me to say this. I think it comes through without me saying it, but I have to say it anyway. Listen to Ella, to how dignified she is, and how sincere she sounds and is, despite what has happened to her. She has been through one of the most horrible ordeals any person can go through. The stripping away of her children, and she hasn't seen them in more than a year. And look, just listen.
2 years, 2 years, 2.5 years now.
But Ella is dignified. This is a human being at its best. Mm-hmm. The way she comes across, the purity, the dignity, and not being a complete basket case on this show. She has held herself together in a way that I completely admire.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because it is remarkable, and I've thought the same thing. I thought the same thing when I was recording the interview with Ella, that resulted in the video called Hampstead Uncovered. And you're 100% right. Ella, I don't know how you can keep it together. I don't know how you've done it. You're very, 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 very strong. And I guess that's your purpose in this world, is to inform people about the injustices done to you and your children. And we all need to fight to get those kids back. We have to figure out what's going on with those kids. And Sofia, don't sell yourself short either, because you're one of the brightest minds I've ever met. And guys, if you don't know, Sofia produced a documentary, if you haven't watched it, many people have, called 9/11 Mysteries, right? Before anybody even woke up to 9/11. That video was paramount in helping me wake up. And she produced it at great cost and expense to herself. And, you know, I was a producer in TV at the time when I watched that, and I literally remember thinking, how in the world did somebody do this? This is really, truly amazing. And it's Sofia's voice. I didn't know Sofia at the time. It's just a world-class voiceover. It's fantastic. It's called 9/11 Mysteries. And Sofia produced that documentary prior to me even having a YouTube channel or a website. That's how far ahead of the game she is. Two of the brightest minds I know, two of the strongest women I know, Ella Draper, Ella Draper, and Sofia Smallstorm. Thank you both so much.
And thank you so much for your love and support, and that's what keeps us strong. It's the love of the people that it just been poured over Alice and Gabrielle. It's I can feel it, and thank you so much for that, and thank you for your incredible, beautiful energy, both of you, and all the people who are supporting Alisa and Gabriel, and supporting all the children. We've got to change the situation as soon as possible. Yesterday, preferably.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Thank you, Sofia.
Thank you, Sean, and Ella too, and a big hug to everybody out there who's listening.
Yeah, from me too. All right. Guys, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to this no agenda broadcast that we just threw together in a moment's notice. I was going to talk to Ella just about some of these natural remedies, and then we got Sofia on the line, and the next thing you know, we're talking about all of these interesting things as only the three of us could. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for real news 24/7 at sgtreport.com. God bless. Bye-bye.
Allegations of prostitution and pedophilia, and allegations that those crimes were somehow covered up or not looked into. So the State Department this morning is having to respond to those claims and those investigations of misconduct by State Department officials, including by an ambassador and security agents attached to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.